Sorry, you've just caught me planning my evening meal for tonight. One of the biggest traps many photographers fall into is believing that there is a right way and a wrong way to make photographs. But because photography is so subjective, everybody's idea of what right and wrong is going to be different. Therefore, blindly following other people's recipes can lead us to ignore two of the most powerful assets that we have available to us: creativity and our own unique perspectives. In this video, I'm heading out for a photo walk in the beautiful North York Moors National Park. Along the way, I'm going to outline some of the many options we have available to us when making photographs, and also explain my decision-making process to make sure that the choices that I come to are the right ones for the photos I want to make. Lots of choice. Before we get too far into our photo walk, I think a good place to start is setting our intentions. So even if we're not following a specific recipe, these are things that we can fall back on if we start to feel a little bit lost. So think about things that make up what you would say is a good photo. For me, it comes down to light, subject, and structure of the composition. I also tend to look out for human influence within a landscape without there actually being any humans there. You could call these things basic ingredients. We don't necessarily need that recipe, we just know that we need them to be able to make a good photograph from our point of view. It's a little bit like you'd struggle to make bread without water and flour. Therefore, you don't need to note down those two things on a recipe to remember next time you make bread. Does that make sense? Down at the bottom of this track is Goathland Railway Station, part of the North York Moors Heritage Railway. And there's just so many photographs to be had here. My options are going through the roof, so trying to narrow it down is going to be very difficult. Looking around the station, I was trying to avoid the obvious, looking out for the way that the light interacted with my subject matter, and how diagonal lines really strongly led you through the composition of the photographs. Bringing both of these two elements together, I was able to try and position my subjects in a way that the light led you to them, the shadows simplified the background, and the lines gave the photograph depth. It was also really interesting to have a look at patterns within the scene as well. This shot, taken from the opposite side of the bridge, really intrigued me. Although there's quite a few horizontal lines in it, which can often flatten a photograph, because we've got the line of the bridge leading across and the depth with the light and shadow, I think the effect works really well. I think I might have found my next shot. I'm currently walking on a path above the quaint little hamlet of Beck Hole. And talking of holes, we've got this beautiful natural window looking through towards the pub, the bridge and the frosty fields in the background, all neatly framed by these gorse bushes which are beautifully catching the light, and the tree on the left-hand side with its branches framing our beautiful circular window. So, what are my options here? Well, first of all, I think it comes down to where I want people to look within the composition. And because the tree in the field, in the centre, in the background, is catching the light, I think that's always going to be the focal point of my photograph, because it's naturally where people's eyes are going to look towards. So ideally what I want to do is introduce little stepping stones in between there to slow the eye down and add a bit more interest. So I think the first place to start off is in the foreground, as this light is catching these spiky branches of the gorse. So having this in the foreground, maybe slightly out of focus, isn't going to draw the eye too far forward. It's just going to act as a bit of a barrier to getting a little bit further on. Then we've got the pub and the bridge in the valley below. And I love the way that the smoke is belching out of the chimney of the pub. It's creating a really nice homely feel, especially with the type of light that we've got hitting the rest of the scene. So hopefully with that little bit of human interest, that's going to act as our mid-ground interest and gravitate the eye before it leaps to the tree in the light beyond. I think the great thing about the background of this photograph is that it's in shadow. So our eye is going to stop at the tree which is in the light. So although we've got quite a complex scene here of multiple layers and bits of interest, I think that that shadow in the background is just going to simplify everything down a little bit and train our eye to look where we want it to go. Other options could be that I utilise some of the path that I've just walked up in my photograph to show a bit more context of where we are. I could potentially put this gorse in the foreground in focus using a narrower aperture to add a bit of spiky interest to the foreground. Or I could go a little bit wider at the other side to make more of the tree and emphasise that framing. But for me, with this shot, it's all about this window. And I want to simplify it as much as I possibly can because there's so many different complex layers. And I'm hoping that this shot is the one that works best for me. This is the impressive Thomas and Foss waterfall, and at a location like this I've got so many options. First of all, in terms of the vantage point where I stand to take this photograph. Should I get close in, capturing the grandeur of the waterfall, maybe framing it with a few of the rocks in the foreground? Or do I stand back and capture the landscape that it's in and the river flowing away? Then I've got choices around camera settings. Should I use a slow shutter speed to blur out the movement of the water, or do I want to freeze it in motion? I think in these situations it's worth trying out a few different options because I don't think there's just going to be one that works. The things that I am looking out for in particular, however, are making sure that I've got strong lines that lead to the waterfall and make it stand out within the composition. I don't want any rocks that are going to block the view of the line, so we've got a nice neat lead towards the main event. I also want to make sure that there's no distractions at the edges of the frame, like stray branches coming in that are going to take your eye away from the waterfall. Other than that, I'm just going to have a look around and take a few shots, and this time I'm going to let you decide which is best. Let me know in the comments. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong about using recipes to make photographs, but if you're anything like me, if you're searching for an evening meal, you might find a recipe and then think, I'm going to swap that ingredient out for this one, or maybe add a few more in, just to suit our own taste. And I think this is how we should approach photography, having those ingredients that we know and trust, but be willing to use our creative license and our own unique perspectives on the world to spice things up a bit and to create photographs that stand out because they're different, not because they follow the crowd. Now, if you'd like to learn from masters of photography that could have written their own recipe books, then you're going to love my new series that I'm filming for the Yorkshire Photo Walks channel. Watch this playlist to keep up with what I've done so far, and make sure that you subscribe to not miss a future episode. Now, what am I going to have again?